want to speak briefly on what I titled as renewing your altar. Let me tell somebody, say renew your altar. Genesis chapter 13 and verse 4. He said, unto the place of the altar which he had made there at the first. And there Abraham called on the name of the Lord. Altar is the place where you call the name of God. Now pay attention. This is a message I preached somewhere. He cried. When we speak of altar, we are looking at man's means of meeting with God. I didn't talk about a monument or anything you construct now. I said means. Means simply means anything that you do with the tendency to meet with God. It doesn't have to be a wood, it doesn't have to be an iron, it doesn't have to be anything else, but anything you do with the tendency to gain the attention of God. God does not build an altar for himself. It is man that raises altar with the intention to meet God. So when we talk about the issue of altar, it is the responsibility of a man. It is your responsibility to find something to do in order for you to have a meeting place with God. Because any land or city where there is no airport, plane cannot land there. If there is no altar in your house or there's no altar in your life, God will not show up there. An altar is the portal where divinity manifests to humanity. An altar is the gateway between man and God. An altar is the gateway or the doorway to God, from man, and from man to God, from God to man, from man to God. A meeting place is the altar. An altar also can be termed as a marking spot. That is the place where God meets with you. A marking spot, because in most cases when God encounters men, they mark that place and then they call it the name of the Lord. In the book of Genesis chapter number 28 and verse 16, the Bible told us about the man by the name Jacob. When he left his father's house, he got to a city called Luz, and while he was there, the Bible said he slept in the night, and then he saw in a dream the heavens were open. There was ladder from heaven that came down to the earth, and God was sitting at the top of the ladder, and angels were climbing down from the ladder up to the ground. So we're climbing up from the ground to the top, and the Bible said in verse 16, Genesis 28, and Jacob awoke out of his sleep, and he said, the Lord is in this place. He said, and I know it's not. He said, this is no other place than the house of the Lord. And the Bible said that he took the stone that he used as a pillow and turned it into pillar, and called on the name of God there. He called it the land of Bethel, and he vowed a vow. He anointed the pillar which was once a pillow, and he vowed a vow, and he said, oh Lord, if you will lead me to where I'm going and you bring me back in safety, he said, this place shall be an altar to you. He said, this place will become the house of God. He converted that city to become an altar because he had an encounter with God. In Genesis chapter 12 and verse 7, God appeared to Abraham and said to Abraham, this land where you are, I will give it unto you and to your children. And the Bible said that Abraham built an altar in that spot. That means that some altar are a marking point where God meets with you. What is the altar in your life? Where is the place God meets with you? Some people's altar may not be a wood, it may not be a church building. The altar may be in the place of your prayer. The altar may be in the place of your sacrifice. The altar may be in the place of your service. The altar may be in the place of evangelism. But someone have to have an altar, because it takes an altar for God to manifest. God said to Abraham, he said, this land where you are, David, quickly the man raised an altar. In the case of Solomon, it was his sacrifice. In the case of Peter, it was his prayer. In Acts chapter 10, Peter was fasting, Peter was praying, and an angel of the Lord appeared to him and said unto him, Peter, look at this unclean animal. He said, kill it and eat it. While Peter was contemplating, he understood that God was communicating something. The Bible said there were men waiting for him to come and preach unto the Gentile. Meanwhile, the altar of Cornelius in Acts chapter 10 from verse 1 to verse 3 was in the place of service and in the place of taking care of the poor. Tap your neighbor by the shoulder, say, where is the altar in your life? Where there is no altar, there will be no meeting place. Abraham abandoned that altar and wandered into the land of Egypt. He left the altar where God spoke to him, where God declared to him that he's going to give to him, and he entered into the land of Egypt. Long story cut short, Abraham came out with problem. He came out with catastrophe. The first thing, they took his wife from him. The second thing, he came with Hagar, who became the mother of Ishmael, who became the father of Islam, who became the father of Boko Haram, who became the father of Aswab, who became the father of the killer you see today, because he left the altar. I don't know where you may have left the altar of God, and right now look at your life. It seems to be messed up. Your goods are taken from you, your glory has been taken from you. You have left your prayer altar. You no longer fast again, you no longer evangelize, you no longer preach the gospel, you no longer do your work like the way you used to do. Right now your life has become messed up, but I have a word for you. At the end of today's meeting, the fire of God will revive the altar. The altar will be revived. Your altar of prosperity is coming back alive. Your altar of power is coming back alive. Your altar of